Have you ever felt like you're just going through the motions? Well, today we are breaking down a really powerful framework for designing a life that actually feels meaningful. We're going to start with the big vision and drill all the way down to one tiny step you can take today. Let's jump in. Right off the bat, we hit this powerful idea. Having a vision for your life isn't some luxury. It's not optional. You see, you're already living out a vision. The only real question is it yours? And that really brings us to this fundamental choice we all have to make. Are you going to be the architect of your own life, or are you just going to end up following a blueprint that someone else drew up for you? See, if you don't consciously choose your own vision, you just default to something else. Maybe it's just your own short-term impulses, or maybe you just become a side character in somebody else's grand plan. The point is, something is always in the driver's seat. Okay, so how do you even start building a vision? Well, first we need a map. Not a map of the physical world, but a map of your own personal experience of reality. There's this ancient idea that your entire experience of the world, everything you feel and do, is basically this dynamic dance happening between two huge fundamental forces. And those two forces, they're called order and chaos. Think of order as your explored territory. It's everything you know. It's where you feel secure. Chaos, well, that's the great unknown. It's where all the potential is, but it's also where surprises, good and bad, lurk. Order is your comfort zone, right? It's where things are predictable. Imagine having a fantastic conversation with a good friend. It's easy, you're laughing. That's the feeling of order. And we're wired to crave this because predictability lets our brains relax a bit. We're not on high alert. And then there's chaos. It's that moment you step into uncharted territory. You know, you're having a nice family dinner and then suddenly an old argument pops up and the whole mood shifts. That's chaos showing up. And yeah, it can feel threatening, but here's the crazy part. We're also drawn to it. Chaos is where all new things come from. It's the source of growth. So this all leads to a really, really crucial question. What's your attitude toward the unknown? How you decide to face that chaos, that's going to define the entire course of your life. You've basically got two paths. You can cling to what you already know, right? Just ally yourself 100% with order. But that leads to stagnation. It's a kind of personal tyranny where nothing new gets in. Or you can choose transformation. You can welcome the unknown, having faith that you can adapt and grow. And this is where the feeling of meaning comes into play, because according to this way of thinking, that feeling isn't just some fuzzy, abstract idea. Nope, it's a deep-seated instinct. You know that feeling when you're so engaged in something, a good book, a deep conversation, that you totally lose track of time? That's actually a biological signal. It's your mind and your body telling you, hey, pay attention. You are in exactly the right place to learn and to grow right now. So if meaning is a signal for growth, where do we find it? Where does that signal shine the brightest? The answer is so cool. It's right on the border, right on the line between order and chaos. It's that sweet spot where you've got one foot planted in what's safe and predictable and the other foot stepping out into the unknown. You're stable enough that you're not totally overwhelmed, but you're challenged just enough to grow. A perfect way to think about this is your favorite song. It's got a melody you know, a rhythm you can count on. That's order. But it's also got those little surprises, those variations and riffs that keep you hooked. And that's chaos. That perfect balance is where the magic is. It's where you find meaning. All right, let's bring this down from the clouds. Let's get really practical. How does this whole dance between order and chaos actually play out in your day-to-day life? You know, we tend to think about our lives in terms of the big highlight reel moments, vacations, promotions, whatever. But the truth, your life is really the sum of what you do every single day. Your routines are your life. If you can master them, you master your life. And get this. Let's say you have a messy 20-minute transition from work to home every day. It seems like nothing, right? But over a year, that little 20-minute chunk adds up to 12 full 8-hour workdays. A tiny, repeated part of your life has this massive compounding effect. So improving these small moments just snowballs over time. If you can perfect that 20-minute post-work routine, or maybe just how you say goodnight to your family, you are fundamentally changing your entire experience of what it feels like to be you. Okay, but what about the things we all put off? You know what I'm talking about? The stuff that feels so huge you don't even know where to begin, like finally updating your resume or tackling that disaster of a garage. Here's the strategy, and it's brilliant. You shrink the task until it is almost laughably, shamefully small. If you're avoiding that resume, don't try to rewrite the whole thing. Just open the document. That's it. Do that one tiny thing. And then, and this part's important, give yourself credit for it. You took a step. It kind of brings to mind this quote from Carl Jung: "The fool is the precursor to the savior." It means you have to give yourself permission to be a beginner. You have to be willing to be the fool and do things imperfectly before you can ever hope to become the master. And you've got to remember, change has its own momentum. Every tiny step you take makes the next one just a little bit easier. Success builds on success. That embarrassingly tiny first step isn't just a step, it's the start of an avalanche. And that really brings us to our final question for you. What's one embarrassingly tiny step you can take today to start putting your world in order, to start building that life you really want? A huge journey always starts with one single step. So, what's yours going to be?